Subclassing. Please tell me this isn't a BDSM thing. What's going on, YouTube? So we now know where 2025 is going to bring us, and we have tons of stuff to go over in this video. The very first thing I'm going to break down is the location, as well as the story elements that brought us there, and the brand new system that's going to be zone-wide for all participants there. Then we're going to break down subclassing, how that's going to look. We will also talk a little bit about the new trial, PvP, the fact that the next test is going to be in Update 46, the content pass, there's going to be welcome back rewards. They're going to continue to focus on the base game experience with higher res. We even have information on Q3 and Q4. Feel free to use the timestamps below. But now, let's start to break down 2025. And if you're a fan of this channel, you knew that our primary guest for 2025 was through Razumdar himself, a fan favorite character who at the end of the High Isle event said, hey, I won't be going to Murkmire next. And if you were to talk to him, he would tell you that he's going to be going on a special expedition. And we are, in fact, going on a special expedition to the island of Solstice. It is off of Murkmire, just south of it. And it's very special because it's half Argonian and half High Elf themed. But with another twist that it's also half being invaded by the Daedric Prince of Damnation. So I guess might want to split that up into thirds. So we're actually going to see a return of the Worm Cult, but what's really cool is we're actually going to see a brand new system storyline for this zone. And that is the Withering Wall event, because half of the island is actively trying to invade us, but instead of fighting it off alone like we do in a lot of our storyline quests, we're actually doing it as a server through server-wide content, such as the other half of the island invading us and having to defend against that, or building assault camps and defense camps and supply lines and things of that nature. It's going to be a story that's progressed by a server, and then we'll then see additional things open up as we hit different marks for doing so. It's definitely going to be a really cool event, and it's a brand new system that ESO is experimenting with. I'm very excited to see a server come together in a zone to actually do something together. It'll actually be really awesome to see that, because the closest thing we have to this is Trials, and that's significantly less people than an entire zone worth. Not only that, the return of the Worm Cult will be a direct expansion from ESO's base game. So 10-year anniversary of ESO, it's actually going to be an expansion of the ESO base game. We're going to see a continuation to the Prince of Damnation storyline, as well as some returning faces from our companion storyline, which is actually going to be really awesome. It's going to be awesome to see those 5 companions again. And which ones will be there, which ones aren't, is a specific necromancer back. Well, we'll have to wait and see on that, unfortunately. We also will have a brand new trial in this update, which is just always awesome to see that we're getting a continuation of more PvE content, more things to do. Also, trials usually have some of the better sets inside of it as well, but we don't know specifically what sets are going to be released at this time. It's always good to know that there's going to be some additional endgame content with some endgame rewards. And when it comes to the endgame content, we have to talk about subclassing. Subclassing is the biggest change that ESO has seen for quite a long time, because it's going to completely shake up PvE metas, solo metas, and PvP metas all in one fell swoop. So the majority of ESO players play on one character. What's your reward for having multiple other maxed out level characters? Well, there notoriously hasn't really been one. If you have a level 50 Warden that you just don't use because you're like me and you play a Sorcerer, it doesn't really see anything. It just kind of sits and collects cobwebs. Well, now you will be able to swap out one of your skill lines for a maxed out Warden skill line, which actually gives you pretty good reward and incentive to have other characters maxed out. What's nice about this is that obviously you can have access to things that you've never had before. You want to have a DK that knows how to do things like Streak and Lightning Form and Mage's Fury? Well, you can do so. So how exactly does it work? Well, every main class has 3 specific lines attached to it, and you're able to swap out 2 of those to another class with some restrictions. For example, let's say you're a sorcerer, that's where we play on here, and I wanted to grab a Warden line and a DK line. I could do that. Let's say I wanted to grab 2 Warden lines. I actually cannot do that. So if I wanted to get their passives from the Warden, I have to use that entire skill line. So a lot of people are explaining this as individual skills. Think of it as actual skill lines. You are taking the entirety of that skill line on a specific character, including all of the passives that go with it. So you might also want to think not just in terms of active skills, Also start thinking which skill lines from other things such as the Arcanist, the Necromancer, the Warden, the DK, the Nightblade, the Sorcerer, the Templar, which ones also have good passives, because scribing can also be used to theory craft in a way, and we also now have the ability to grab passives from other skill lines. Are there any drawbacks? There are a few. Notably, as well, everything that you do in another skill line is going to cost you 2 skill points versus 1. And it's also important to remember, too, that as you grab these skill lines, you are losing a skill line. You can only ever have 3 in total, so you don't get to have the benefit of having all the Sorc passives if you're switching out some of the skill lines that give you those passives. So it's important to keep in mind what you're swapping out, not just from an active ability perspective. It's great to get things like corrosive armor, but then you're also locked to getting the buffs that skill line gives you, and then you're also having to replace a current passive line as well as active skills that would be on a skill line that you naturally have, because you can never have more than 3. But it does actually give you a really good incentive to have multiple characters that are leveled up. Even if you don't intend to use them, you're still getting a nice experience by being able to take those skills back to your main character, which I think is actually really rewarding and awesome to do so. Also introduced in this update is going to be welcome back rewards. We don't know the specifics about this yet, but there's going to be a couple new systems intertwined into this, such as re-explaining features to returning players and things that they may have missed, help them catch up on them, and also rewards for returning to ESO, which I think is just always a good thing. In addition to that, they're going to be continually updating the resolution as well as some graphical updates, to other base game zones. We've seen that in the starter islands. It seems like that's going to be a continued quest for the developers to do behind the scenes as well. And for those of you who missed it, the Cyrodiil Vengeance campaign was recently tested back in March, a kind of brand new Cyrodiil campaign with different skills as well as limited amounts of sets that you could use, and they did that to get feedback to see how high scale those battles could be in Cyrodiil again. And we're actually going to continue that in Update 46, doing a new test that likely will include additional sets that are going to be able to be worn, and to see how that affects server stability. They're going to continue to develop this new Vengeance campaign as we kind of go through all these other active events and things in the Elder Scrolls Online. Also, as well, for Q3 of this year, we're going to be having a dungeon pack again, which is pretty exciting. We've not had one of those in a while. And also something we've not had in a while, Q4 of this year is actually going to be a zone expansion and storyline finale. Q4s for quite a few years now have actually not been story-based, so it's exciting to see additional story as well as overland content going to be added in a Q4 update. I believe the last time we saw that was with Blackwood. Next up to talk about is the Content Pass. Now, the Content Pass is very similar to the chapters that we've had previously, except that the actual Content Pass includes content for a whole year. So, notoriously, the previous year, such as the Gold Road expansion, was not included in ESO Plus because it's the most recent chapter that is included in ESO Plus. And that seems like it's going to be consistent for the Content Passes, meaning that once the 2026 Content Pass comes out, the 2025 Content Pass will hit ESO Plus. The 2025 Content Pass is going to include Seasons of the Worm Cult Part 1 and 2, and the Feast of Shadow Dungeon Pack. Some other things that were briefly touched upon are guilds, which the developers noted are actively being worked on, but there's nothing specific to report on them yet. But we did have the guild summit. We know that there's guild changes coming, and we know that they're looking at ways to expand and refine the guild systems. And as a bonus for those of you who were on stream to see it, when this new background came, I was like, this piece that's right below my face, what is that little island there? Turns out that's the Solstice Island. So we were already there, before anyone told us anything. We knew where we were going. Us in stream, we figured it out. And to be fair too, we got Razumdar, we got the Murkmire kind of region. Dark Brotherhood, don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a little hint there at the Dark Brotherhood being the 2026 teaser. So that's exciting because that was my prediction actually for this year. We did also learn that some seasons might not be a year long. They might be 3 months, they might be 6 months. There might be revisions to old zones, which I kind of thought that they might do in this first season to kind of, give them a reprieve to kind of develop some new systems. So I'm very excited to see a brand new, wall system that separates a zone and gives us, full zone PvE content to do. I just want to see something walk out with like 1 billion health. That would be ridiculous. That's kind of my hope for what they do with this system, because I think it's just absolutely awesome, especially for those of you who like to do solo content but also want to do some hard PvE content. you can kind of do your solo thing, but you also be around other players also doing the same thing without having to mic up with a whole zone's worth of people. Because if I had to mic up with a whole zone's worth of people, I'd feel like I was in Rift and Zone chat. I think I'd lose my mind. So I just want to thank you guys. I know there's a ton of videos that came out from a ton of different people on this. So thank you for choosing my YouTube video to watch on this. It means a lot to me. So thank you guys so much again for watching. As always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. All you need to do is like and comment on the video to be entered in giveaway numero uno. Second one is just be subscribed. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone, especially for ESO content. So thank you guys so much for helping me get there. And the third thing is look for a hidden word, be flashed upon the screen. If you're the first person to find and comment that word, you will win. Can't believe that they thought that they could sneak a Flash Dark Brotherhood hand and I wouldn't see it. Comment below if you saw the Flash Dark Brotherhood hand. They thought they could sneak it past me. I sneak stuff into my videos all the time. But thank you guys again. Have a fantastic Thursday, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.